Welcome everybody. Today we're going to have a special guest. It's Hagen von Tulien. He's from Germany and he's also a chaos magician. So how about you tell us a little bit about yourself, Hagen?
Hi Daniel. First of all, let me say thank you for inviting me to this interview. I'm very happy that
thank you for attending
all these interesting things now. And as you just said, I'm basically a chaos magician. That's my main approach because I came into contact with chaos magic when I was very, very young. And so it's the basis of everything that I'm doing. But of course, as a chaos magician, you are going to explore a lot of other stuff during your when you are following your way through all the magical pathways and the mysteries and everything. So also I'm deeply into the Saturnian mysteries of the German Brotherhood of Saturn, the Fraternitas Saturni. I'm also into Gnosticism, especially the Voodoo Gnostic system of Michael Bertio. And also I've explored a lot of other pathways and things. And not to forget, I'm also an artist, an occult artist.
Speaking of the art, do you have anything you could show us right now? Like what you do? Do you do art for a living, or is it your hobby? Is it your passion?
I'm doing this as a passion because for me it's a kind of magical art. It's not just for decoration or so. I'm started to create some artwork for my practice of magic, for decorating my home altar, for example, and to use as visualization foci and also sigil works that I elaborated on. And so it was at first for my personal use, but I saw that I created some works that were of interest to other people. So I made these works available to other people. And nowadays you can go online and can check out what I'm offering. I have a page online. I have not prepared a presentation of my artwork. I have to check my computer. If you have mentioned it before, I could have made a presentation that I could have shown you. But there is a page online on Behance. Maybe you could give down there on YouTube the address, and there I present all my artworks that I'm presenting, all my actual artwork that is available, and there's also the other artwork there that is already sold, so people can see what I'm doing and what kind of fields I'm active. And I'm also doing commission work, for example, if somebody approached me, he want to have a special piece for his altar or for his magical work, and I'm comfortable with the symbolism, with the ideas. Then I'm creating it. I'm in the comfortable situation that I don't need to do every work because I have some other income also, and I don't need to do everything. So I'm basically looking for artwork that somehow fits to me, that's interesting to me, and that I really like to do. And it's also good for the artwork because a lot of personal motivation flows into this artwork, and it's better than just creating something for money. Because when I'm interested in this, the result will be much more better. And also you could see all my stuff on my Facebook and Instagram accounts, for example, and the news threads, of course.
Yeah, sure. And you mentioned that you were very young when you encountered chaos magic for the first time. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Like what guided you towards chaos magic? Why chaos magic and not any other occult system, and so on?
It was when I was young. It was during the 1980s in Germany, and at this time there were a lot of translations, German translations of the works of Aleister Crowley available, the Golden Dawn stuff, and similar magical works became available around this time. Also, we have a long-standing tradition of German occultism, like I mentioned before, the Fraternitas Saturni, and people who were connected, magicians, writers, authors who were connected with these currents were also very present at this time. So this was my background, and then I came in when I was visiting a magical bookshop, an esoteric bookshop, where I know the owner very well, and we had very interesting conversations. I discovered the first German translation of Pete Carroll's Lieber Null. And this really was such a boom for me, because I already at this time I discovered a little bit about Austin Osman Spare, the artist and occultist who was living in London. But it was at the time, it was before the internet, it was not so easy to get good and appropriate information about Austin Osman Spare. It was very, very rare at the moment in Germany. So I was very, very interested in Lieber Null because I saw illustrations there that were in the style of Austin Osman Spare. It dealt with sigil work and with the death posture, all these elements that I already heard about of Austin Osman Spare, and so I became very interested. And that's how it started at all. And for me, Lieber Null is still the my most important magical works that I still have. And from this point on, I wanted to check out what's going on, and things were a little bit much more slower at this time because there was no internet, no messaging, no email, nothing, and you have to write letters, for example, and it takes some time, or you have to visit some places and visit some people. So and also at this moment, the IoT was basically the only thing, the Illuminates of Thanateros, the magical order of chaos magic, was basically the only thing that was really practicing chaos magic. There were a few people, especially in England, around this scene, but it was not like nowadays, that we have so many free chaos magicians, and everybody is working in his own thing and own groups. But at this time, it was mostly the IoT which was really prominent. If you wanted to come in contact with chaos magic and the most actual ideas connected with this current, you have to come in contact with the IoT. So I try to contact the IoT, but at this moment also, unfortunately, the ice magic war started. Maybe you have heard about this in the history, and I thought this was not a very good point to send a membership application to the IoT. I just wanted to wait what's happening, what will be the result of this ice magic war. And then later, when I found out that it must have been over, then I contacted the appropriate people, and I found out that the German section of the IoT was really in ruins, you could say. Only a few people here and there. There was one lady who was the section head of Germany who tried to keep us all together. And so I joined the IoT, and I put a lot of effort there to rebuild it after this great war, which resulted in a loss of I don't know, some people said 60 people, some said 100 people in the German section. And I don't know how many were really there before, but there was really, really a loss of membership, especially in Germany. So I started to rebuild the section and bring them all together, and I started again with national meetings and everything. And then everything went well. And then, I became the section head of Germany very quickly. This was my start into chaos magic.
Yes, and you mentioned that Lieber Null was one of the most influencing books regarding your point of view and paradigm, right? To make it even funnier, it was also the same for me, but I managed to know Pete only like 1.5, 2 years ago, and it was actually via a coincidence when my friend told me that apparently Pete is also in the United Kingdom. So I searched for him, I found his email address, and then I spoke to him, and then I found out about Arcanorium College, because to speak honestly, Lieber Null was one of my favorite books about chaos magic. I also respect a lot Phil Hines, rest in peace, books, Prime Chaos, Oven Ready Chaos, and so on, and obviously Austin Osman Spare. I've read a few more, but they were not so practical, and what I was searching for in any occult system was pretty much the practice. Since we all come from the same or similar system at least, we probably all want results, right? So we don't want to focus on paradigms, beliefs, philosophies, and so on, unless we choose to do so. So my point of view and my question toward you would be, what made you think that chaos magic is the right system for you, like personally? Because that's the really intriguing question. Like, what made you take this choice in your life?
Yeah, that's a very important question, Daniel. Yeah, thank you. For me, it was really the open approach of chaos magic, because chaos magic is not, how to say, a closed system. It's more kind of meta approach to magic. And it gives you a lot of tools, a lot of clues how you could deal with the basic elements of magic, with the basic disciplines or the basic techniques that you could basically find in every other system, but without all the elaborate symbol system which surrounds most of other orders or other magical approaches. For example, as I mentioned before, I was coming from, let's say, a Thelemic background, Aleister Crowley. And when you are studying Aleister Crowley, you have to look very deeply into the symbolism of the Kabbalah, of the Tarot, and all these things associated with it, that you can understand the writings, because Aleister Crowley closed a lot of his writings in Kabbalistic symbolism. And for me, the approach of chaos magic, when I came into contact with this, was so refreshing, because it said, now it doesn't matter what system you are attracted to. Here in chaos magic, we are just showing you the basic essentials. We are giving you very powerful tools that you could use, and also in other systems. Because, as you know, there are no chaos gods, basically, or there's no chaos Kabbalah or something like this. It's a reduction to the basic things. Basically, you have the 5 basic magical disciplines like enchantment, divination, invocation, and also illumination. And with these 5 basic disciplines, you have already a lot of powerful tools and with them you could approach other systems. And so this openness really, really attracted me. And also, which comes together with openness, it's a lot of creativity. We were very, very creative in those days, and we were creating rituals, we were creating new approaches to traditional systems. We were cutting out the clutter from the unnecessary things from other systems, and we were trying it out and to see what works. Just to give you a very, very simple example. At this time, I was invited to a Jupiter ritual from some people who come from a Thelemic background. And in this ritual, they were starting with a lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, the greater ritual of the pentagram, the hexagram ritual. And it took about 1 hour with all these preparatory rituals till it already starts with the Jupiter part. And then for me, the first hour was nearly basically sitting there in my asana and waiting what's happening, because one person was standing in the middle and doing this, another person was then standing in the middle doing that. And when we came to the Jupiter part, then I was really feeling the magic going on. And afterwards, the same procedure as before, this ritual, this next ritual. And then he said, I draw a pentagram in the wrong direction, so let's do another banishing ritual afterwards. And when I came into contact with chaos magic, it was much easier. Yeah? We did something to energize all the people together, like, for example, the Gnostic banishing ritual, where we vibrate only the vowels in some imagined energy centers, and then a whole group of 50 people was synchronized, and then they were energetic after 5 minutes preparation, and then the really, really heavy stuff could start, and everybody was engaged. And for me, it was really obviously that it can go in other ways, and you don't need all the stuff. I would not like to say that it's bad or that it's unnecessary. If you are going deeply into this other system and study all the symbolism and all the correspondency, it could give you a lot of interesting experiences. But I only want to say there are also other possibilities, other approaches. Every approach is valid, and you have to look for the approach that is really valid and interesting to yourself. And for me, it was really great to come from a very, very overburdening symbol systems and to reduce it for myself. But it was also the same situation for the other chaos magicians. When you look at the founders of chaos magic, they all came from a background of Thelemic, Kabbalistic magic, Hermetic magic, and they studied a lot. Ray Sherwin, he published the New Equinox, and there was a lot of traditional stuff, Enochian stuff, young Aleister Crowley stuff, and everything. So the founders of chaos magic, they came also from this background that they were deeply involved into this heavy systems, into the symbol systems.
Yeah, sure. So when it comes to chaos magic per se, what kind of attracted me toward chaos magic was the lack of belief, like the possibility that you could choose what you want to believe in. And to make it even more strange, I typically do not follow any systems. Well, I do follow the 7 chakra system, a bit of the energetic system, but it's not really specifically what they say. It's mostly me adopting some of the main ideas and main principles. So I do believe that they are energetic centers. I do believe in energy, whether it's called ki, chi, prana, whatever. And I also do believe in energetic bodies and pathways. But for instance, when it comes to any invocation or evocation rites, I do not follow any of the paradigms nor books. So I've read through Goetia. I also have been in touch with one person who was very, very interested about the Enochian magic, and he was very successful with Enochian magic. He was one of the members of the Polish Chaos Magic Lodge. I'm not sure if I can speak openly about his name and surname, but his nickname was 118, and he was attracted to the angel Ophiel. But what I found about how vast are magical systems, I was like, let's create something by myself. And this was the thing that kept me attracted to the not just chaos magic system, but generally occult systems altogether, because I didn't have to follow anything. I didn't have to be bound strictly to anything that was, told to me by any specific superior, and I could create something of my own. So when I do chaos magic, I mostly focus on the characters that I know. So instead of focusing on demons that are discovered and described in the books, in the grimoires, I mostly use video game characters or some of the anime characters. And my point of view on that is that what I watch, whether it's a movie, whether it's a cartoon, or whether it's a video game, I can create something inside of my mind and be bound to it, because then I'm starting to build a conception about it. And for me, it's personally much easier than reading about something and then trying to make it like alive and vivid, like when it used to be with the grimoires, like with the Goetia and so on. So maybe you tell us a little bit about how you perceive that sort of practice, and what's your preferred system or preferred entities that you work with.
Yeah, you explained it very well, because I see all these entities, they are all these entities, they are in some kind of way specialists for specialists for something. As an example, for example, a goddess of love, like Venus or Aphrodite, she's a specialist for everything which has to do with love and empathy and sympathy and beauty, aesthetics, and all these things that we associate with it. And also a deity like Mercurius or Thoth or Hermes has to do everything, is a specialist which knows about everything about communication, wit and cleverness, intelligence and knowledge and language and all these intellectual things. And so I think, like you said, it doesn't matter what kind of entity you choose, because there's no really only one entity available, which is a special, which is a symbol for all these qualities and for all these knowledge, the specialized knowledge. And you could also look for other entities that you can find, as you explained, in video games or in anime or in comics or somewhere else, or some entity, some fictional entities that represents all the stuff that you want to empower yourself with, for example. This could be old gods or it could be new characters. I don't care about. And I think it's personally, it's a personal thing. What attracts you? Some people get attracted by the Goetia, by this more traditional stuff. Some other people are more attracted to modern interpretations, because all these entities basically, just tell another thing from the development of chaos magic. I think it was Frater Ude, Ralf Tichtmeier, who presented this idea of the form models of magic, and he said. When you look at magic, you can explain everything, for example, in the spirit model. Everything is a spirit, is an entity. It's personified. And then you have the energy model. And you can explain everything with energies. Like you said before, he or she in the more Asian or Oriental systems, or here in the Western thing with Anton Mesmer and his magnetism and energy. You can reduce everything to energy or explain everything as energies. Then a little bit later came the psychological model, inspired, of course, by Freud and Jung, and you could explain everything as psychological processes going on in our minds. And then nowadays people are exploring some new models like the information model, that everything is information basically. And Frater Ude said, these are really reductions of these things, just for categorizing, that you can look straight at this thing, or at that thing. But basically, every magician uses everything. They combine everything. Then they're using the energy of this deity or the energies of the spirit, or can see them at psychological constructs in your mind. So it's also a thing what attracts you a lot and how you would like to work. And you asked me about entities, and entities, it's a very, very old way, as we know. When you look back at humanity, it started basically with animism, we could say, as far as we know, animism, shamanism, and in this model, everything was alive. Everything was alive somehow. Yeah, every phenomenon in nature was alive, and later people. They personified these things that they found in nature or in their own psychological makeup. And because we as humans, we are used to communicate with others. We are not single persons in a universe. We are humanity. We are humanity as a whole. And so we are used, and basically I would say it was the only way how we survived in the former days, in the Stone Ages or so, as tribes, as groups of people, and not as solo people. And so we are used to interact with other people. And so it was very, very natural to personify these energies, these phenomena in nature, or these psychological constructs, also as kind of entities or spirits. So we could address them more properly, and we could talk with them as we are used to. We are talking with other people, so we could also talk with the spirits of fire, or we could talk with the spirits or the gods of thunder and all these kind of things. It was much more easy to talk with these energies than to just reduce them to a psychological complex in your mind, for example. So when it comes to entities, I have my personal entities that I'm very, very I'm attracted to. Of course, as a chaos magician, I work very much with Baphomet. Baphomet is one of the entities that was all around in the chaos magic current. And I also am attracted, of course, to the Saturnian idea, to the idea of Saturn. Saturn was always a kind of the guardian of the threshold, because for so long time he was regarded the last planet in our solar system before humanity discovered Uranus and Neptune and Pluto. It was always Saturn the last of them, and so he was there at the threshold, at the frontier. He was there. Of the other side was the great beyond, the void, the chaos, and everything, and he was there inside of our solar system and in the realm of where everything materialized, and he could take the raw stuff of chaos and bring it into materialization to be realized in the system. Yeah, and I'm also very attracted to these voodoo gods that we are using in the voodoo Gnostic system, for example, and of course the classical entities in Western magic, like the Roman or the Greek gods.
Yeah,
and
sure.
When it comes to entity, to spirits like or demons, I'm not working so much with the Goetia. I'm used to work with spirits from in another way, which comes from the voodoo Gnostic system, where we have a lot of respect to all the spirits. It's not like commanding them around, commanding them in a triangle and giving them threats and saying, if you don't accomplish what I want, what I'm telling you, I will destroy your sigil and will ban you forever or so. And I learned from the voodoo Gnostic system that it's a much more easy way to be respectful and to be loving and to be dedicated to the spirits. At least, as I said before, these are all parts of ourselves. It's coming from us.
Yeah, since you mentioned animism, a conversation comes to my mind where it was probably around 15 years ago when I was speaking to a friend of mine who was also deeply into pretty much any of the occult systems. We could say he was a chaos magician, but he was not solely focused on chaos magic, and we were trying to determine what are angels and what are demons from like the human perspective. And the quote that made me think about it was my friend mentioning that he perceives demons as atavisms and our aspects, like deep, dark aspects that are pretty much primal, and primal not thinking of them as brute, but maybe of something that is clearly focused about one specific concept. So he was thinking of any sort of a demon or a servitor, whatever you call it, as maybe an entity, maybe a concept, maybe just like an energy ball that was programmed with a specific instruction, whatever we would call it, no matter the paradigm. But when it came to angels, he told me that he believes that angels are pretty much the personifications of the universal laws. And that made me think that, okay, so we have kind of like a system where there are two sides of those. One of them are focused clearly on achieving the goal, no matter what, and this is their like only objective. And the other ones, like the other side of this would be not necessarily an entity in any paradigm, but maybe something that would represent some sort of a specific order. And one of them would be, like focusing on achieving something, no matter what happens, no matter what do they have to defeat or abstract. And the other one would be representing those are the universal laws, and this is how we are kind of subdued to them, if you get what I'm saying. Like, what would be your opinion about this?
Basically, here in our physical dimension, we could say that we are living in a kind of duality. Everything exists in dual forms, otherwise we would not recognize it. We have light and we have darkness, and we have high, we have low, because we know always a complementary side. We could appreciate the other side, and so we live in a kind of duality. That's why we have demons and we have angels. Basically, these are only things, like I said before, dark and light, night and day, male and female, up and down, right and left. But also we have some moral dualities, like good and bad, or good or bad, and these kind of things. And for me, and also therefore we have of course black magic and white magic, or high magic and low magic. Or some people also said you can differentiate between magic and the magical path and the mystic path. And I see it as in the same way like you. There are one basic path. It's going into duality, to experiencing everything, to achieve your goals, your intentions, and more in a kind of Gnostic way that you can experience everything. That because you are born into this life, so you're experiencing everything in this life. That's why you are incarnating or in this physical dimension, because you want to experience, you want to create, you want to experience everything. And the mystical path is that you are renouncing everything, that you want to reunite with the source of everything. But basically, with all these dualities, it's not so much a very strict differentiation. It's only one side and the other side. Like in the Asian thing, that's the mountains is the sunny side of a mountain and the shadow side of the mountain. But they both belong to the mountain. And so both of these sides, they always express a deeper lying unity of everything. So I would not say that you must decide for the magical way or the mystical way, for the black magic or the white magic way, or for the low or high magic way, because these pathways are only different kind of expressions of the same unity, which lies at the root of everything. And for me, it's a kind of crooked way. I'm going this way and this way. I try this and try this, and because you could say, as a chaos magician, I want to reunite with the source of everything that we in the chaos magic paradigm we call, of course, chaos, the great void. I want to reunite with chaos, but you could say, okay, this is a mystical approach. But for me, it's also a magical approach, because I want to reunite with the source from which we came, so that I can use this raw creative stuff, which is the basis of everything, which is behind everything, which creates everything. So I want to get more access to it, that I also could use it by myself as a kind of creator in a process of creation.
Yes, sure. And since you mentioned that many things, what would you say would be your favorite novel, or maybe your favorite concept? Not necessarily referring to the mystical ideas, but to the, let's call them, occult ideas. Speaking of a system that would also include like psychology, neuroscience, and everything that comes to describing how the world works.
That's a good question. It's so different. It's so complicated because every time you make a statement, you are reducing your capacity, because you close something out of it when you have a final description of it. I'm open to every path. I really, as I described before, I'm very much interested to gain access to the source of everything, to reunite with our source, because nearly in every spiritual system there is this model that there was something before creation, a kind of chaos, a kind of void, the Tao or Dao in Chinese systems, and there was always a kind of voidness or nothing, but which contains everything in potential. A void which is pregnant with every possibility that could manifest or maybe manifest or will never manifest somehow. And for me, the magical approach is basically to get access to this source, to this primal void, to the source of everything, the cosmic mind or the cosmic consciousness, however you would want to call it, because this is basically everywhere in the universe. You could say we are all sparks of primal chaos, or as the Gnostic says, we all have the divine spark of the primal creator in us, and it's not only for us as humans, but it's everything that exists has this primal spark. And so we all have this remembrance of the primal source in us, and so we could connect very easily with the primal source again, because it's already there, it's already here in everything that exists.
Yeah, so speaking of more mundane things, most people think of any sort of an esoteric system or occult system as of something mystical. But my take on that is that any sort of system should allow you to get yourself easier to what you're trying to achieve, no matter what is this. Whether it's just meditation, spirituality, chaos magic, maybe Felima, maybe other styles of magic, maybe even Wicca. And what would be your take on thinking of something that is potentially described as esotericism or occultism and applying this to modern world? Like, to give you a small hint, for example, as we already spoken about this, I am deeply into strength training. So for instance, I use meditation to control my body to get better results in terms of strength training or any sort of strength and conditioning work. What would be your take on that, and what would be your approaches to manifesting your spirituality in our daily life?
Yeah, it's basically very similar to you, because I'm also very deeply into meditation. I came into contact with yoga and meditation, breathwork at the age of 12 or so, I guess. Yeah, and it really, really struck me, and it hit me when I found out, oh yeah, you control your breath, you can control your life and how you age and your health and everything. And meditation, it's relaxation, everything. It's really also good for everything, for basically everything. So from the beginning on, meditation is very, very important for me. It still is. When you're looking, for example, at the Liber Null that we mentioned before, it starts also with these basic ideas: control your body, just sit there, relax, sit still, that you can control your body, that it is totally relaxed. It's basic approach to meditation. Control your breath, your breathing, and also pranayama and meditation. And also still your mind, that your thoughts are not like a raging tornado in your brain, but still your mind, let it go. Just, yeah, as you say today, mindfulness. Yeah, just recognize what's going on and let them go, and try to revert to the stillness of the mind. So these are the things that I started with many decades ago, and these are basically still around for me and are still very important. And it's not that you start with these techniques and then you go to other more elaborated or more advanced stuff or something like this. No. It's I think it's basically these simple things. Yeah, sit still and calm your mind.
So, for instance, when I started, I was all about meditating with energy, astral projection, although I was never very good at it. Lucid dreaming, that was I was not an expert at that, but at some point I just simply got bored of it, because I was thinking about, like, what else could I do when I'm dreaming? And I was, all about flying, teleporting, and I was like, okay, nothing practical here. It's just like realizing your dreams. And then I discovered working with energy, but deeply. So my main point and my main, not necessarily paradigm, but the thing I was focusing on at most with magic was concentrating on that energy, whatever it is called, whether it's ki, chi, prana, and then I discovered that it's connected to what I'm feeling and to what I am. So for instance, years later I discovered that when I focus on a specific part of body, it makes me feel in a specific way. And then when I went into a Nirvikalpa Samadhi a few times, I was also like, okay, in this state, I cannot really be concentrated on any part of my physical body, and I know that it's deeply related because I'm not focusing on my body anymore. So the thing that I would say that changed my life would be the representation of macrocosm by the microcosm. So when I focus on a specific part of my body or when I focus on a specific feeling, then I start discovering the connections and the truths. And it kind of sounds abstract for people who are not into that, but you know what I'm talking about. So what is the thing that made the most impact on your life and on your spiritual growth?
The most impact. I would say the most impact is not only one thing. I think the whole exploration of this whole thing that we are talking about. This is that it continues and continues. Yeah, it's not that I reached some point or that I found the ultimate technique or I had this very, very mind-blowing experience and that everything was okay and I reached a point. That's not the thing. For me, it's going on and going on. I'm reaching some kind of thing and see, oh, there is something more beyond. And this is the thing that I really, really love with about all this, what we are talking about, magic, spirituality, occultism. It's not for me that I've reached a point and I say, oh, now I'm illuminated or I don't know, now I know everything. And that's not, I don't think that's the point because it goes on and it goes on like life itself. Life itself also has not a high point and it stops, it evolves and it goes on and goes on. And so therefore I found out I'm researching magic and all which comes with together with magic, spirituality, occultism, and whatever you want to call it. And I'm also practicing it for over 40 years now. You can see my magical archive now, it's growing and growing, and I never get bored about reading new approaches to it. And I think that's the main point, that you don't stop, that you're always open to something new, that you could go further and further and could explore and experience even more interesting things, because we are living in such a vast universe and we are living here just on a grain of dust in the universe, and we are still discovering what's possible here in our little corner of the universe. And when you imagine that there's such a vastness outside and what awaits us to explore and to discover, that's really, really, really mind-blowing and very, very, and really, I'm very enthusiastic about this.
Yeah, so when you talk about it, it makes me think about constantly being in tune with your inner child. So it feels like you're exploring the whole world. You're not stopping anywhere, and there is no goal. You're simply just there to explore it, to see what works, and to be joyful about it. Is that correct?
Yeah. A wise lady once said to me, when she was channeling an entity, and this entity said, when it was asked, what's the purpose of life? Yeah, that's a great question. What's the purpose of life? Yeah, and the answer was, the purpose of life is just to experience, because experience never stops. Your experience never stops. Yeah?
It's like whenever I visited the abyss or the dark realm, the shadow, whatever do we call it, I think it started happening to me since I was like 5 to 6 years old. I wasn't informed about any form of the occult systems at that time, but I was thinking about what happens when you die, why are we here, why are we alive, and so on. And I had so many questions about our existence. And then when I started growing up, then when I was introduced to psychedelic drugs, they allowed me to experience my own mind in a purest form. And then I discovered that my biggest nightmare is also my biggest blessing. So, yes, there is no meaning to life, because we are the meaning, and we can give the meaning to our own existence and to our own lives. And I think we're getting closer on this. So I think you understood what I'm talking about, and also vice versa. So it's very nice to speak to someone who has the same thoughts about what's going on. And to not drag this any further, because that could be a little bit confusing for our viewers, how about you tell us about your meditation practice? So, like, when you meditate as a chaos magician, are there any specific rules or are there any specific techniques? What do you typically focus on? What's your main goal and how do you practice it?
Yeah, I think I basically described it. I mostly sit still in a comfortable position. Then I take some deep breaths to relax deeply. And sometimes I make a kind of, how to say, body scan, that I'm going to my body. I've associated, for example, a kind of relaxation. When I went to my whole body, I said, for example, I combined this with numbers. For example, when I say 6, I immediately associate that my legs and my arms, or my feet and my legs and my hands and my arms, they relax and feel very comfortable. The extremities. Then I just had to say 5, and the whole area of my hips, my genitals relaxed. And then I said 4, it's the belly area. 3, the breast area. 2, the throat, the shoulders. And 1, the head. And then I could say 0. And then I'm there into this great void and nothingness. And so I did this for a long time, that I go into this very elaborately. As I just described, I relaxed everything and I experienced everything very slowly, the relaxation, and combine this with these countdown, with these numbers. And sometimes I just have to do this countdown quite quickly to feel this relaxation. So basically it's a relaxation of my body. Then it's slowing and of my breathing, that I breathe very deeply into my belly, that I can feel my belly is moving. It's not a flat breathing, it's a deep and calm breathing. So that's basically the body aspect. Another aspect is that I'm trying to calm my mind, my thoughts, that I let my thoughts just flow. And also my emotions, my feelings, that I'm very that I try to feel happy, and as I did before with my body, it's a kind of relaxation. I feel relaxed and I feel comfortable. I feel happy, and sometimes I support this. For example, when I cannot still my mind so easily with a mantra practice, for example, saying a traditional mantra or a mantra that I created on my own again and again. Sometimes with the use of a mala, these kind of rosaries, this Indian tools, paraphernalia for meditations. Or sometimes I also use a kind of symbol or a kind of statue as a kind of focus for all this. And that's basically the thing that I'm doing in meditation.
So long story short, we're all kind of focusing on the same techniques. It's up to us how we use them and what we use them for. Because many people tend to think that, if you do occulticism or if you do esotericism or any sort of magic or advanced meditations, people from outside tend to think that it must be complex or it must be obscure, but it's not always the case. Like, my take on that is, if you're really advanced, you should be easily able to explain that to a beginner.
Yeah, definitely. It's basically that you control your body and your mind, and to focus them. And if you want to achieve something, you must be very clear in your mind. You must have an intention, for example. You must also. There's another formula that I use a lot. It comes from the tantric system. You could summarize it in knowledge, will, and action, for example. And this summarizes very well the whole process of magic. For example, start with will. You can also attribute it to chakra system. The tantric system, it's attributed to three areas in your body, and the appropriate shaktis are associated with it. So will is the center in your heart. Then you have knowledge in your brain, and you have action in your belly, in your hips area, the area of your hips. So basically, what you're doing, you're starting with will. You want something, or you could say, make a little more differentiation. It's not only will. How does will starts? Will starts mostly with you have a kind of desire, a desire to achieve something, to be something, to do something, or to get something. And there's this desire, and then you form your intention. So you have desire or emotion that fires your will, your intention. And also there must be a lot of imagination going on, because when you desire something, you also imagine something. You imagine what would be the outcome, because you compare it with similar experiences, and you say, mostly when you're doing a decision, you are imagining, when I'm going to decide this way, what could be the result of this? How did I feel? How would this feel for me? Or when I'm going the other way, you imagine what's going on, and then you decide on one thing. So imagination is mostly the basic thing behind everything. And for me, it's summarized in the word will. So you have your will, and then you need knowledge. You must need the knowledge how to achieve your intention with techniques that we spoke about. For example, with meditation, or to do a ritual, or to do something else. You must know a lot of techniques or practices, how you approach your personal way to achieve your intention, your intent. And then action. You must do it. At least you must do it.
And speaking of the intent, of the skill to visualize what we desire, what do you think of knowledge in terms of the ultimate knowledge? Because my take on that, and I'm not pushing anything, it's just like my conception. You might not agree with that, you might have a different point of view. I was always thinking that if we want to possess the ultimate knowledge, we must stop thinking that we know. And I was also, when I was a kid, I used to watch all those sorts of karate movies and so on, Chinese philosophies inspired films, and they were always bringing that one simple thought up, where the master was trying to fill the glass with water, and the student was holding that, it was spilling, and the master was always asking, like, how can I fill that when it's already full? And my concept on that is, there are many systems, like even in Kabbalah, or purely chaos magic, Philima. When we think of the Dark Brothers, or whatever do we call it, people who are obsessed about knowledge, I think they lost themselves to the sole point of being knowledgeable. And if you really want to be a person who knows, maybe not knows, maybe understands things, you have to stop knowing, you have to stop perceiving, and simply open your mind and make it go blind to everything. So it's maybe about, stopping the process of categorizing your thoughts, concept, or ideas, and just experiencing it as a pure consciousness. What would be your take on that? What do you think about this?
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. For me, knowledge could have two meanings, basically. You have knowledge more in the sense like you described, a kind of technical knowledge. You must have knowledge if you want to bake a cake, for example. You must know the recipe or so. This is a kind of very basic knowledge that everybody uses, yeah. But I'm also a Gnostic, and so in Gnosticism, the term gnosis means experienced knowledge. It's not a kind of technical knowledge. It's a knowledge that, you are basically one with everything. And in this state, in this experience of this kind of knowledge, this gnosis, there is no room for this technical knowledge anymore.
Yeah, sure. That's very interesting, and this whole interview feels like I'm literally speaking to a clone of myself, because everything you say, I agree with. So there are no misconceptions. I understand everything, pretty much what you're saying and what you're thinking. And that brings me to another idea, like when I think about not necessarily the Indian system of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, but just the general system of us, not just the human beings, but also pretty much every living being being a part of each other. And when I was like 16, 17, that was in like 2006 or 7, I was born in 1990, so I'm like 20 years younger than you, something like that. And I used to smoke a lot of marijuana, and most of the time I would spend on meditating. So I would smoke, meditate, and think about what is being enlightened like. And then I had those visions where I saw puzzles, a lot of them, that they were coming together, but when they came together, we were all one picture. The energy or the information, whatever that is, it was flowing for us. And we were simultaneously a puzzle and the picture all together. And it was so beautiful and it was so complete that you couldn't be possibly wanting anything else.
I could only agree, Daniel, with this. Yeah. I would also say that this is one of the main things, yeah, to realize that there is unity. Yeah? There is already unity. We as humanity on this planet, with everything living here, with all the animals, with all the fauna and flora here on this planet. And therefore we have this idea, for example, of Gaia. This is this planetary consciousness. Or as a chaos magician, you could also say that's a symbol of Baphomet. It's also another expression of Gaia. It's the consciousness of the whole planet, because when you look at the symbol, for me it's a symbol of unity. Yeah, everything is there, total in unity. Yeah, the dualities. You have male and female. You have God and demon, God and Satan. Yeah, you have high and low. You have sex and death. You have everything. All the dualities are in harmony and in unity. And so, and for me, it's very important to also try to reach this state. And it's not a state that you reach, as I explained before, that you reach at some point and then you stay there, and you always get glimpses of it, yeah, and you always want to get more. And even if you get a feeling for the unity of this whole planet, then you could go further, yeah, this whole solar system, yeah, the unity of everything. When you contemplate it, yeah, we have the sun and all the planets, they are rotating around the sun, and everything is in unity. Yeah, if something goes out of this order, everything will crash together. So there's a greater unity in the solar system. Then you have greater unities everywhere. Yeah, we have in the galaxy and in the universe and everything. It never stops. And it's interesting that I never met a person who said, "Yeah, I'm totally constantly in this kind of state where I realize this kind of unity." You get this glimpse in some states of mind, and sometimes it changes how you perceive it, and so. But it's very motivating for me, yeah, to try for it, to have this in my back of the mind that I want to reach for this. Because in normal life, in mundane life, there's always these distractions. Yeah, you have to put your trolley to the supermarket. You have to pay your bills and everything, and you get always distracted about this. Yeah, it's interesting because that's the way how we experience this universe or this reality where we are living now. Yeah. If you will flow around totally, constantly in this state of unity, I don't know if you could handle the basic stuff of life anymore. Yeah.
Well, we're not just spiritual beings. Like, we're here maybe for a reason, maybe not, but for some reason we are here, and we have to eat, we have to do our daily shopping, we have to go to work and take care of our physical bodies. So to close that interview, I would say that I have only heard stories about people being so-called enlightened. But when I spoke to Peter for the first time, he mentioned that you can be enlightened about something, but you can be not enlightened about something else. So, for example, he brought up that concept about, for example, Dalai Lama being a wonderful spiritual person focused on peace and spiritual growth. But also, what Pete mentioned would be that Dalai Lama would probably not be good in terms of being like a political leader. Like, where two countries clash together. Sometimes you have to think not only about the ideas and the concepts, but also what happens here. And sometimes there are things that you wouldn't want to do, but they have to be done, they have to be taken. And I believe that when we're speaking about the physical realm and what's happening over here, is that the rules here are different from the spiritual rules, and our goal on this planet or in this life, maybe not in this planet, maybe there are more planets, who knows, is to unite the body and the physical realm with the spirituality. So there is some sort of balance, so people never drift away too much toward either the spirituality or the mundane concepts. Like some people are too closed and some people are too open-minded, so just drifting away, trying to avoid reality.
Yeah, right. Again, a duality, that we are experiencing. Mind and spirit, mind and body.
Yeah, sure. So thank you, Hagen, for that wonderful interview. Before we go, could you mention your website name so people can visit and see what you offer?
It would be nice if you could write it down below. It's because it's
Sure.
on the Behance
Yes.
page, Behance, and then Hagen von Tulien. And if you put my name, Hagen von Tulien, at the usual social networks, you could find me there on Facebook and on Instagram.
Yeah, sure. That's great. Thank you very much, and you have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much, Daniel. It was really a pleasure to talk to you.